I woke up on the cold floor of the pharmacy, my head pounding. A woman in a white coat was peeling something off my shoulder. "What are you doing?" I tried to sit up, but my arms felt like lead. "Sir, please stay still. This patch, it's not what you think it is." Her voice was urgent, almost frightened. My heart was racing so fast I could hear it in my ears. I looked down and saw the small square patch on my upper arm, the one my daughter Rachel had given me just 2 weeks ago, the one she said would help with my blood pressure. The pharmacist, her name tag read, Linda Chen, was holding the patch with tweezers, examining it under the light. "Mr. Patterson, how long have you been wearing these?" I tried to think clearly through the fog in my brain. "Rachel brings me a new one every 3 days. She's a doctor. She said it's a new transdermal medication her hospital is testing." Linda's face went pale. "Sir, I need to ask you something important. Have you been feeling dizzy, confused, heart palpitations?" I nodded slowly. "Yes. Actually, that's why I came in here. I thought I'd pick up some antacids, but I felt so weak I guess I collapsed. Let me back up. My name is Charles Patterson, and I'm 62 years old. I know what you're thinking, 62 isn't old. I spent 35 years as an aerospace engineer before I retired last year. I still consult occasionally, work on restoration projects in my garage, and I was planning to hike the Pacific Crest Trail this summer. My wife Eleanor died 3 years ago from cancer, and it nearly destroyed me. But I rebuilt my life. I had my daughter Rachel, my woodworking projects, my Tuesday poker games with the guys, and a comfortable life in Seattle. Rachel is my only child. She's 34, brilliant, a cardiologist at Seattle Medical Center. After her mother died, we grew even closer. She'd come over every Sunday for dinner, call me 3 times a week, always checking in. "Dad, are you eating well? Are you taking your medications? Are you getting out of the house?" I appreciated it mostly. Sometimes it felt like a bit much, but I understood. She'd lost her mother too. She was worried about losing me. 3 weeks ago, Rachel came over with a small box. "Dad, I have something that I think will really help you." She pulled out what looked like a nicotine patch. "It's a new transdermal delivery system for blood pressure medication. My hospital is running a trial, and I thought of you immediately. I'd been managing my blood pressure with pills for years. Nothing serious, just standard stuff for a man my age. Rachel, my medication is working fine." She sat down, taking my hands in hers. "I know, Dad. But this is so much better. Continuous delivery. No spikes and valleys like with pills. And it's just a trial for the next few months. You'd be helping advance medical science." The way she looked at me with those earnest eyes, so much like her mother's, I couldn't say no. "All right, sweetheart. If you think it'll help." She smiled so brightly. "That's my dad. I'll bring you fresh patches every 3 days. Just put them on your upper arm and leave them on until I swap them out, okay? And Dad?" She squeezed my hands. "Don't take them off or forget to wear them. The medication needs to be continuous, or you could have a serious blood pressure spike." The first few days were fine. Actually, I felt pretty good. Rachel called me every evening. "How are you feeling, Dad? Any dizziness? Nausea? Heart racing?" I'd tell her I felt great. She seemed pleased, but always pushed for more details. "Are you sure you're wearing it correctly? You haven't taken it off, have you?" It struck me as odd she was asking very specific questions, almost like she was monitoring for something particular. But she was a doctor. Doctors ask detailed questions. By day 6, things changed. I was in my garage working on restoring a 1967 Mustang, when suddenly the room started spinning. I had to sit down, gripping the workbench. My heart felt like it was trying to break through my ribs. It passed after a few minutes, but it scared me. When Rachel called that evening, I mentioned it. There was a pause on the line. "That's normal, Dad. Your body is adjusting to the new medication. It'll pass in a few days. Just keep wearing the patch." But it didn't pass. Day 9. I was at the grocery store when my vision went black for a moment. I had to lean against the shopping cart. An employee asked if I was okay. "I'm fine," I said, embarrassed. "Just got up too fast." But I hadn't gotten up. I'd been standing still, looking at soup cans. That night, Rachel came over to change my patch. She seemed anxious, checking her watch multiple times. "Dad, you're still wearing it, right? You haven't taken it off at all?" Her intensity unnerved me. "No, Rachel, I haven't. But these dizzy spells, they'll pass," she interrupted. "Your body needs time to adjust. Trust me, I'm a doctor." Then she did something strange. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of my arm with the new patch on it. "Just for my records," she explained when she saw my confused look. "The trial requires documentation." That made sense, I supposed. But something about the whole interaction felt off. Day 12. I was having lunch with my buddy Tom at our favorite diner when everything went sideways. We were talking about his grandson's baseball game when suddenly I couldn't breathe. The room tilted. Tom's voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. "Chuck? Chuck!" Next thing I knew, I was on the floor, paramedics standing over me. They took me to the ER. Rachel showed up within 20 minutes, which surprised me since she was supposed to be at work across town. "Dad!" She rushed to my bedside, but her eyes immediately went to my shoulder where the patch was. The ER doctor, a young guy named Dr. Mitchell, was reviewing my chart. "Mr. Patterson, your blood pressure is dangerously low. What medications are you taking?" Before I could answer, Rachel jumped in. "He's on my trial protocol, transdermal antihypertensive. I'm his physician." Dr. Mitchell looked at her. "You're treating your own father?" Something in his tone suggested that wasn't ideal, but Rachel was insistent. "It's a controlled trial. He's being carefully monitored. They kept me for observation for a few hours, then released me." Rachel drove me home, talking the entire time about how I needed to stay calm, stay hydrated, keep wearing the patch. "Do not take it off, Dad. Your blood pressure could spike dangerously if you stop the medication suddenly." When we got to my house, she helped me to the couch. "I'm going to come by every day for a while, just to check on you." Part of me felt grateful. Part of me felt suffocated. The next morning, my neighbor knocked on my door. Linda Chen had lived next door for 5 years. She was a pharmacist at the local drugstore, and we had a friendly relationship, waving hello, chatting about the weather, that kind of thing. "Charles, I saw the ambulance yesterday. Are you all right?" I assured her I was fine, just a medication issue. Her eyes narrowed. "What medication?" I explained about Rachel's trial. Linda asked to see the patch. I showed her my arm. Her reaction was immediate and alarming. "Charles, this isn't a standard medical patch. The backing material is wrong, and there's no pharmaceutical company labeling. Can I take a photo?" I let her. She stared at her phone, zooming in on the image. "Charles, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I think you should have this patch tested by an independent lab." My stomach dropped. "What are you saying?" She chose her words carefully. "I'm saying that in 20 years as a pharmacist, I've never seen a trial patch without proper labeling and lot numbers. And I'm saying your daughter asked me last month if I knew where to obtain certain compounds that aren't typically prescribed." The world seemed to tilt again, but this time it wasn't the medication. "What compounds?" Linda hesitated. "I probably shouldn't have mentioned it, but given your symptoms." She asked about drugs that lower blood pressure dramatically, the kind we'd only use in extreme hypertensive emergencies. I told her I couldn't help with that. I thought maybe it was for a research paper. My hands started shaking. "You think Rachel is... what? Poisoning me?" Saying it out loud sounded insane. Linda put her hand on my arm. "I think you should get that patch tested. And I think you should remove it now and go to a different hospital for evaluation. Not Seattle Medical." I sat down heavily. My daughter, my Rachel, the girl I'd raised, sent to medical school, walked down the aisle. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But then I thought about all those questions. The obsessive checking if I was wearing it. The photo documentation. Her strange urgency at the ER. Linda was watching me carefully. "Charles, I know this is hard to hear, but as your neighbor and as a healthcare professional, I'm telling you this doesn't add up." I made a decision. I carefully peeled off the patch, put it in a plastic bag, and Linda drove me to University Hospital. Across town. I used a fake name and paid cash. A doctor there examined me and sent the patch to their lab. While we waited for results, I had them run a full blood panel. The doctor came back looking grim. Mr. Patterson, or whoever you are, you have dangerously elevated levels of minoxidil and hydralazine in your system. Those are blood pressure medications. But at these levels, they're essentially poison. Have you been taking these intentionally? No, I whispered. My daughter gave me that patch. The doctor's expression shifted from concern to alarm. Your daughter is trying to kill you. The words hung in the air. I couldn't process them. The lab analysis came back an hour later. The patch contained a time-release formulation of multiple antihypertensive drugs at concentrations far exceeding any therapeutic dose. It was designed to progressively lower blood pressure to fatal levels over the course of weeks. I sat in that hospital room, and everything came crashing down. I thought about the past few weeks. Rachel's constant calls, her insistence I never remove the patch. Her showing up at the ER so quickly had she been waiting for the call? The documentation photos. Oh God, the photos. She was documenting my decline. For what? Insurance? My will? I'd updated my will last year, leaving everything to Rachel. My house, my retirement accounts, my life insurance policy. Nearly $2 million total. I called my lawyer from the hospital. Don't tell Rachel I called, I said. But I need to know something. If I died right now, would my daughter inherit everything immediately? My lawyer, a woman named Patricia who'd handled my estate for years, confirmed it. Yes, Charles, she's your sole beneficiary. Is everything all right? I told her I'd explain later, but that I needed her to prepare documents changing my will immediately. Make it a trust with conditions. And Patricia? Not a word to anyone. When I got home that evening, Rachel was waiting on my porch. Dad, where have you been? I've been calling you for hours. I kept my voice steady. I went for a drive. Needed to clear my head. Her eyes went immediately to my arm. The patch was gone. Her face went white, then red. Dad, where's your patch? I looked her in the eyes, this stranger wearing my daughter's face. I took it off. I wasn't feeling well. She grabbed my shoulders. You can't do that. Your blood pressure, put it back on right now. Her desperation was chilling. 80. 80 make it. One fine one. No, Rachel. I don't think I will. We stood there in silence. Finally, she released me, her expression shifting to something I'd never seen before. Cold. Calculating. You'll die without it, Dad. Your blood pressure will spike. I stepped back. Funny thing, Rachel. I went to University Hospital today. They tested that patch. Want to know what they found? Her jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought she might run. Instead, she laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. You always were smarter than you looked. Why? The word came out broken. She sat down on the porch steps, and for a moment, she looked like my little girl again. Then she spoke, and the illusion shattered. Do you know what it's like to be drowning in debt? To have made mistakes that cost you everything? My heart sank. What kind of mistakes? She looked up at me with tears in her eyes, but they felt manipulative. Gambling, medical school loans, credit cards. I owe $300,000, Dad. They're threatening to sue. I could lose my medical license, my career, everything. You could have asked me for help. I was shouting now. She shook her head. You would have judged me, lectured me, made me feel like a failure, just like always. That struck me hard. I never. You did, Dad. Every time I wasn't perfect. Every time I fell short of Mom's memory. I'm tired of failing. And you're just sitting on all that money. Living in this big house alone. Wasting your retirement. You don't need it. You're going to die soon anyway. The casual cruelty of those words knocked the breath out of me. I'm 62, Rachel. I could live another 30 years. She stood up. Not if I had anything to do with it. The admission hung between us. I pulled out my phone. You should know that this conversation is being recorded. and that I've already given evidence to the police. It was a bluff. I hadn't called the police yet, but her face told me everything I needed to know. She ran, got in her car, and drove away. I stood on that porch shaking and called Detective Sarah Mills at the Seattle PD. Linda had given me her name, a detective she knew who handled elder abuse cases. I told her everything. They arrested Rachel the next day at the hospital. The evidence was overwhelming. The lab analysis of the patch, the toxicology report from my blood, security footage from the pharmacy showing Rachel purchasing compounds under a fake name, phone records showing she'd researched untraceable poisons and inheritance acceleration. But perhaps the most damning evidence was what they found on her computer. A detailed journal documenting her plan, day-by-day observations of my symptoms, calculations of how long it would take. She'd even researched funeral homes and drafted my obituary. Reading it in the police station, I felt like I was grieving my daughter's death, because the Rachel I'd known and loved was gone. Or maybe she'd never existed at all. The trial was 6 months later. I sat in that courtroom and listened to prosecutors detail how my daughter had obtained restricted pharmaceuticals, formulated a time-release poison, and systematically administered it to me with the intent to cause my death and inherit my estate. Her defense tried to argue diminished capacity due to gambling addiction and debt-related stress. The jury didn't buy it. They convicted her on attempted murder, fraud, and elder abuse. She got 20 years. The day of sentencing, they let me make a victim impact statement. I looked at Rachel, really looked at her. For the first time in months, she wouldn't meet my eyes. I talked about betrayal, about trust, about how the people who have the power to hurt us most are the ones we love. I talked about forgiveness, not because she deserved it, but because I needed to move forward. When I finished, she finally looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Daddy." For a moment, she sounded like she was 7 years old again. But then, they took her away, and she was gone. In the aftermath, I had to rebuild everything. My sense of trust, my relationships, my understanding of who I was and what my life meant. Linda became a good friend, checking in on me, inviting me to her family gatherings. I reconnected with old friends I'd drifted away from. I joined a support group for victims of family violence. I learned that what happened to me wasn't unique. Elder financial abuse by adult children is more common than anyone wants to admit. I'm 63 now. I sold the house Too Many Memories and moved to a smaller place near the water. I did hike part of the Pacific Crest Trail last summer. I'm dating someone, a widow I met at my support group. We take things slow, building trust carefully. I changed my will, leaving most of my estate to charities that help elder abuse victims and people struggling with gambling addiction. Some might say that's generous given what Rachel did. But I figure if my money can prevent even one family from going through what we did, Eleanor would approve. I think about Rachel sometimes. She writes me letters from prison. I haven't opened them. Maybe someday I will. My therapist says there's no timeline for forgiveness, no right way to process betrayal by someone you love. I'm learning to be okay with not having all the answers. What I do know is this. I'm not weak because I'm in my 60s. I'm not helpless. I'm not waiting around to die. I have plans, dreams, things I want to do and see, and I've learned to trust my instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. If you're watching this, and you're in your 60s or 70s or beyond, please hear me. You're not a burden. You're not disposable. Your life has value. And if someone you love is pressuring you, isolating you, controlling your medical care or finances, get help. Talk to someone outside the situation. Trust your gut. I almost didn't. I almost let my love for my daughter blind me to what she was doing. If it hadn't been for Linda, I wouldn't be here telling this story. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up for you, who has your best interests at heart, who sees your value beyond what you can give them. It's about building a life that matters, not just waiting for the end. And most importantly, I've learned that it's never too late to start over, to choose yourself, to demand better. I'm 63 years old, and I'm just getting started.